So today we got the official trailer for James Gunn's Superman, okay? And I have to say, this is one of the most mid trailers of all time. Now, I don't think people understand the fact that DC, Warner Bros., everyone involved in making this movie needs this to be a financial success more than anything. It doesn't matter if the movie gets a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. If the film makes like $700 to $800 million, that is absolutely incredible. They care much more about that than getting a 75% from the audience score. You get what I mean? But the point is, with this movie needing to revive a dead and fractured fan base, because a portion of the fan base, like myself obviously, wanted to see Man of Steel 2 and wanted to see the continuation of Batfleck and Henry Cavill Superman, who had finally finished his arc of becoming that classical, hopeful Superman as we saw him appear at the end of Black Adam. And when you look at it, the DCEU had so many characters that were major in the DC lore that were already established. We had a great Wonder Woman, we had a great Superman, a good Batman, we had Darkseid, we had The Flash, we had Cyborg, who was amazing in the Snyder Cut. You have Martian Manhunter introduced. Dr. Fate was awesome in Black Adam. You know, even though he died at the end, you could have easily brought him back some way with the helmet and all that stuff, right? You had Hawkman, you had the Justice Society, you had the Justice League, obviously. You had Lex Luthor was there, you had Deathstroke. There were so many great things. You had Aquaman, etc. So many great characters there that easily you could have molded that into a universe that could have fit, you know, whatever the general audience, whatever the heck they wanted. You could have easily made it work into that, man. You had something awesome on the table, already established, actors that were basically in their prime or borderlining on that prime area of their careers, and this is what you get. And now you fast forward, you cancel all of that, you throw away a perfectly fine universe that could have easily been salvaged from whatever it needed to be helped with, and you give us this, and this trailer is utterly mid. It looks like a cringe fest. You have 50 billion characters, and it's basically a Guardians of the Galaxy movie starring Superman, which is expected because every single James Gunn movie is just a team-up movie, and that is probably what this movie is going to be. The fact that we have seen more of a dog, Crypto, than we've seen of Lex Luthor, Metamorpho, and of Lois Lane herself makes absolutely zero sense to me, man. Why are we shoving so many characters inside of this movie? I don't understand it. You can call me a Snyder fanboy and all this other stuff. You know, you're a Snyder meat-right, all this stuff, whatever. You can call me whatever you want, but you will not be able to call me wrong. Because at the end of the day, when this movie fails at what it needs to do, which is kickstart a successful universe, make a successful new DC brand, and also redevelop basically a fractured and dead fan base, and also be a financial hit and a critical hit, when it fails at doing all 5 of those things, you will be able to come back to this video and realize that what I'm saying is not a prediction, it is an absolute and utter spoiler. At the end of the day, we have to accept things for what they are. This company is an absolute disaster. This trailer is not good. There is zero reason after watching this trailer why anybody should be excited to go see this movie. And everybody should already be aware of this, but the superhero fan base now believes that everything is cinema. It's peak. It's phenomenal. They're like WWE fans. You get what I'm saying? It's an absolute disaster. Everything is peak and phenomenal, but at the end of the day, when you get the product, it's absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. And something that has to be accepted is the fact that superhero fatigue is real, okay? Less people are watching superhero media and superhero content shows and movies than they were, like, let's say, like 8 to 9 years ago in the peak of the Infinity Saga, for example. It's not the same. Audiences aren't as engaged. There's been so many bad projects that the fans have become disenfranchised. And on top of that, the concepts and the actual quality of these movies have not been interesting, and they have not been good. And so because of that, fans have completely tuned out. We've seen it with DC's recent track record. The first Joker movie made $1 billion, and the second one, because it was bad partly and also because nobody cared about it, it barely made like $180 million, I'm pretty sure. Like, this company is a failure. This franchise is a failure. No one wants to actually go out and watch these movies, and James Gunn is not going to be the one to break the tide with this Superman film. It's just not going to happen. The Thunderbolts was an alleged masterpiece that is going to make less than Captain America Brave New World. You get what I mean? Across the Spider-Verse is another alleged masterpiece that made less than Man of Steel did like 12 years ago. If you adjust Man of Steel's inflation numbers, it's made more than Across the Spider-Verse, essentially. So it's just like, what is this? Just because you call a movie good doesn't mean it's going to perform well. And these companies, these corporations are there for the money. The fan being, happy about watching it is cool, but they need the money, especially when Warner Bros. Is bankrupt and, dang near bankrupt. Actually, I think they're past bankruptcy at this point. They're in debt by billions of dollars. And one of the things that everybody complained about with Batman vs. Superman, right? right, was that there were so many characters and it was so overbloated. They're trying to do so much so fast in this new universe. And now you watch James Gunn's Superman trailer. In the trailer alone, we've already seen like 20 to 30 different characters that are going to play roles inside of this movie. But it is a solo Superman movie. Why am I getting 30 characters in a Superman movie? Do you understand what I mean? People were upset when we got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, and Doomsday, but they're not upset when we get Superman, his mom, his dad, Lois, Krypto, Lex Luthor, Metamorpho, the Hammer of Boravia, you know what I'm saying? The Justice Gang, as they're going to be called, with Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific, and rumors of a Supergirl cameo happening in the movie as well. Like, what is this? How are you okay with this, but you weren't okay with BVS? This is exactly why this company continues to fail. And what about this trailer we got today, or even the first trailer, makes this movie and this character of Superman in this iteration feel larger than life, feel epic, feel insane, you know, get everybody excited and hyped to see this movie? And the answer is nothing made us hyped or anything special about this trailer to make fans feel this way. Now, you will have the group of fans that absolutely despises the DCEU and they hate Snyder and they hate, you know, his iteration of Superman and all that stuff, and they want their Superman to be saving cats out of trees and helping people and doing all this stuff, but they forget the fact that Superman, Henry Cavill's Superman, literally gave his life and sacrificed himself to save humanity, thus becoming a symbol of hope, as we saw in the Snyder Cut, and also as we saw him kind of feel that way at the end of Black Adam. But for some odd reason, no one wants to see the journey. They just want to see the final product. So David Cornsett Superman, who hasn't smiled, I don't think, one time in any of these trailers, maybe like once or twice, is somehow labeled as hopeful and joyful because he saved a couple people from some rubble. Are you kidding me? This is the standard that the fans have set, and this is why, no matter what happens with DC, the fan base will always be part of the issue, because every single time a new trailer drops, they say how peak it is, or how awesome this looks, or how great this is, and how great that is, and then when the movie actually comes out in theaters, they're nowhere to be found, because at the end of the day, everyone knows deep down that DC's brand is dead. Since they, decided to end the DCEU effective immediately, ever since then, the company has been a disaster. You have the Batman 2 getting pushed back 2 years now. We don't even know if that movie's even going to release. We don't know what's happening with Matt Reeves or with Pattinson. He's getting older, etc. And you also have the fact that the Snyder Cut was one of the biggest successes in the history of movies that have streamed. Are you kidding me? Man of Steel is going to make way more money than this movie. BVS is going to make way more money than this movie. You adjust BVS for inflation, it made around $1 billion. You adjust Man of Steel for inflation, it made around $800 to $900 million. You think that this James Gunn Superman is going to make that money? Of course it's not going to. Sandwiched in between Fantastic Four also coming out and Jurassic World, that are just bigger movies that more people are probably going to be looking forward to. Maybe not Jurassic World, but Fantastic Four, more people in the superhero world are going to be looking more forward to that movie than this movie. And it's as simple as that. And so when you look at it in totality, you look at this film, you have too many characters in what's going to be probably around a 2-hour movie. The suit looks absolutely trash. And you also have to factor in, like I mentioned earlier, what this movie has to actually accomplish. The likelihood of it accomplishing those things is not very high. It's frighteningly little. And I want DC to be amazing. I loved the DCEU and thought it could have been amazing. You know what I'm saying? After, Black Adam and the post-credit scene, I was really excited for what was next. Since then, I haven't been excited about anything DC related besides the Flash movie I was excited for, and that bombed. I liked the movie. I thought it was pretty great, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a success. So it doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? It didn't make money. It was critically received decently, I guess, but it didn't make a lot of money, and that's what Warner Bros. And DC were looking at, and that's just what it is. James Gunn sabotaged DC by deciding to reboot the universe so no one wanted to go see the movies in 2023. And now you fast forward to now, and this is the best product that he can offer us? This is what's supposed to reignite our excitement, our hype for this product? Come on, man. Stop the nonsense, bro. The fans know it. I know it, and the critics will find out, and so will DC and Warner Bros., who already know this movie is not going to be that good. And obviously, because they are aware of this information, we will eventually get this film, and once it fails, Warner Bros. Will either go bankrupt or file for bankruptcy and go, sell off to some other company, or we will witness officially the end of the DC universe in live action, at least for now, until they get enough money to finance some future stuff. But as I'm concerned right now, this is an absolute and utter mess. There's some great shots, don't get me wrong, but there are also some shots that make you wonder, why does this movie look this bad? Now, this movie was the cinematography was done by the same dude who shot The Flash. I like The Flash movie, but to sit here and tell you that visually that movie looks stunning would be a blatant lie, and everyone knows it. This film has zero reason to be successful, and so overall, I do think that this movie is going to be a failure based off of the merits that whether it's good or not, it's not going to succeed where it needs to, which is in the box office, and also in the fact of reigniting a fan base. And if the fan base that of DC is not going to go watch this movie in theaters, then you have absolutely nothing to work with. Warner Bros. Has done an awful job now for over a decade making poor decisions that have fractured the DC brand and ruined the fan base, and James Gunn came in and made it worse. David Zaslav came in and made it worse, and now we are where we are. This film will not make more money than Man of Steel. It will not be more successful than Man of Steel. It probably won't even be more successful than Aquaman or Wonder Woman or any other of the DCEU hits, the Snyder Cut, etc. It's not going to happen. You cannot have a series of absolute bombs like Joker 2 and Aquaman the Lost Kingdom, the Flash movie, Shazam 2, Blue Beetle, which was an absolute disaster, a garbage film, etc. All of those movies dropping in succession and having awful box office numbers. DC fan bases have been complaining for years, and now they're not even complaining anymore. They've tuned out. They don't care what happens with this franchise or this IP anymore, and it's sad to see that it's gotten to this point. But this is what happens when the head honchos, the higher ups, make awful decisions that ruin the product and ruin the brand and ruin the fan base. And because of that, we are now going to get this Superman movie that is already being glazed and is absolutely overrated, and it will fail in a couple months when it eventually releases. And that is not a prediction. That is a spoiler. So with that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.